question everything, believe nobody, don't believe me. Question everything, find out for yourself, through your own direct experience, what is true. This is the way of the seeker. Welcome to Satsang. Yes, Si.
Why is the human mind so dishonest?
A lot of people wouldn't like to acknowledge that, but if you start witnessing your mind, having a silent witness that watches without judgment, you'll start to see how tricky the human mind really is. And it will lie. And it'll even lie to itself. It's a survival mechanism. And it's simply that. It's just a survival mechanism. And it does whatever it can to survive.
What made you stop trusting your mind?
I started witnessing it, and I could see clearly that it was a bullshitter, and that it would make things up to protect itself, to protect its beliefs, protect its opinions, and it wasn't straight. Developing internal integrity took quite a long time. It's quite a task to be absolutely honest with yourself. But until you can be absolutely honest with yourself, there's not much you can do about reprogramming the mind to support higher consciousness or heart. And so developing internal integrity is a must.
Where do you place your trust?
In silence and stillness, can always be trusted. It's also our nature, silence and stillness. I've been trusting silence and stillness now for about 30 years.
I notice my mind twists the truth to suit its own agendas. What can I rely on to determine the actual truth?
One of the problems is the way we're actually schooled. We're taught to analyse rather than actually just wait for answers. My mind is silent 99.9% of the time or more. If someone asks me something, I wait for the answer to appear. I don't go into analysing, I just wait for the answer to appear. And it either appears or it doesn't appear. I find that when you go into analysing, that's when the mind has the ability to fool you, has the ability to start lying. In trusting inner knowing, the lying ceases, and the accuracy is, in my opinion, 100%. Whereas with analysing and projecting, there can always be mistakes and there can be dishonesty. And so the mystic lives in silence and trusts the inner knowing.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions? Any statements? Or any challenges to anything that has been said here this evening? Yeah.
I feel like there's a part of my mind that is quite addicted to pleasure seeking, and when you talk about internal integrity, my mind gets a bit freaked out and just I realise I have to be totally disciplined with it.
What about just accepting it as it is?
Right.
Somehow you're judging your mind in a negative way for what it's probably naturally doing. There's no acceptance there, so there's a war inside your own mind.
Yeah, there is.
But you're creating that war through your lack of acceptance of you as you are. One of the problems we've got growing up in a Christian society is there's a whole pile of morality being put on us. And so there's parts of our mind that would be deemed as unsavoury as a result of this morality. And those parts have to be accepted as well. You don't let them run because they probably are unsavoury, but they're there. And you accept them. You make it okay. Otherwise, you have a disagreement inside your own head, and you can't rest in disagreement. You can rest completely in acceptance.
Yeah, I can see how it's just so, what's the word, like, yeah, I'm a bit, sorry.
You lost your mind?
Yes.
Okay. Hello.
When someone asks me a question, my answer comes from calculative mind or previous experience.
Yeah.
So your answer doesn't come from your experience at all, or?
My mind is silent. I go to bed at night, my mind is silent. I wake up in the morning, it is silent. It is silent all day long. It is silent all night long. It stopped talking to itself about 24 years ago. But around about 50 years ago, I started trusting the inner knowing. Because I was quiet enough inside myself to perceive it, and I started trusting it rather than trusting the analysing mind. And so I've been at it for a long time. It's a very different way of living, trusting the inner knowing rather than trusting the calculating mind. It's a very different way of living. I found that in using inner knowing in business, rather than actually calculating mind, I found myself to be very successful at everything I did. Inner knowing seems to have an accuracy that is almost 100%, if not 100%, but you have to be quiet, and you're listening to something that doesn't use words, it just knows which way to go. And it never ever tries to convince you, because it's so quiet, it's so yin. You have to really, really just wait for it to happen, and it just knows which way to go. And this inner knowing is very beautiful. Anything else?
Yes, Bhagwan. When did you start? When did this inner knowing? You started this experience of like this inner knowing. When did you start using it?
I started experiencing it when I was a boy, but I didn't trust it. You see, the thing about inner knowing is you don't know where it comes from, and it's not using logic to convince you. It just knows which way to go. And so a level of trust from the mind is required. And I just started trusting it. And in that trust, I started to see a whole nother way of living in the world. So rather than living in my head my whole adult life, I haven't really done so. Because to actually trust inner knowing, you've got to be pretty quiet in your mind. It wasn't until I started doing a formal meditation when I was 28 that I realised that I was already extremely present to reality, because I'd been present to reality my whole life so far. I loved being present to reality. And so in meditation I found no mind almost immediately, because I'd already been finding it. Whatever we practice we get good at, but we are trained at school to trust an analysing mind, which is actually in the way of trusting inner knowing. It became really clear when I decided to give my companies away, because that was inner knowing also, that my whole life had shifted so much, because businessmen don't usually give up multi-million-dollar companies to go and find their heart. But inner knowing knew that that was the only possibility. There was nothing else that was worth doing. It just knew. And in no way was it forceful, it just knew. It was so gentle. And in that, in walking around Australia or travelling around Australia, I would just trust inner knowing, and it had me go to all sorts of different places. I ended up in places I would never have gone if I had have trusted rational thinking. Met so many interesting people. But to trust inner knowing, you have to let go of control. And letting go of control is actually against survival. Anything else?
I just love listening to you. Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, Papa. It's a similar question. The kind of job I do requires problem solving, analysis. How can I do it from a place of silence?
Probably you can't. It's probably not possible. I've pretty much always worked for myself my whole life, because I was very unemployable when I was young, because I would not comply. And when you work for yourself, you can trust inner knowing, because there's no one breathing down your neck telling you which way you should do it, which way you should go. And so that was very helpful. Nowadays, I get challenged from time to time by people who think that I'm doing the wrong thing. And I look for rationality to try to explain to them why I'm doing something that came from inner knowing out of silence. And it's difficult, because sometimes it doesn't seem logical what I'm doing, but it always turns out right. It just causes a bit of grief for people who still live in their heads and watch me doing things that may seem a little odd. Anything else? Okay. Hello.
I was wondering how I can become more patient just with all of the aspects of my life.
Yeah, I'm not patient at all. I live in the moment. Patience indicates that you're waiting for something to change. I just don't live there, ever. It's now or never. because I live in, and we're going back, 50 years, I've never been patient. It's now or never, because this is the only moment that's real. And if you're in being patient, you're waiting for something to change. That's, to me, is a form of suffering. And so we admire patient people. Well, they're suffering. Why are we admiring them? I don't see the point.
And I find when I'm asked a question, often I respond quite quickly, or the first thing that comes to mind, so that I've interacted or responded. And it's often not what I'd like to respond with, or a correct response that I've thought of. Is patience useful there? Is patience still predicting or wanting something for the future?
If you hung out with me for long enough, you know how I've lived my whole life like that. I've had a big mouth. That's why I haven't gone to certain countries, because my big mouth would have probably got me killed. But I have really enjoyed this life, because spontaneity is living. People who calculate everything are already dead.
So when I'm trying to respond to a question just so that I've answered it, how can I approach that differently next time?
Be okay with your response. You see, you're indirectly telling me you're not okay with your responses. Be okay with your responses. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. It's okay to fail. It's okay to succeed. Be okay with you, no matter what happens, and be at peace with you. Because when we're okay with ourselves, we can be at peace. If we can't be okay with ourselves, we can't be at peace.
And I also found that in wanting certain friendships or certain relationships to become something or to start up, that I've ended up pushing people away more by wanting them. How can I go about establishing friendships from a point of love rather than forcefulness?
Yeah, it's not been my habit to do that. I'm more an easy come, easy go sort of person. If someone's supposed to have been with me, they're with me. If they're not, they're not. You're somehow addictively demanding that you get your own way, and that's just a recipe for suffering. It's like, if someone's meant to be with you, they'll be with you. If they're not meant to be with you, they won't be. That's how I look at it. I'm not going to shake my fist at God and say you got it wrong. But it sounds like to some degree that's what you're doing, rather than accepting whatever is going on. Well, it comes back to being okay with everything. When we can be okay with everything and we can let things go, we're learning the only thing that's worth learning, and that is unconditional surrender. Because it's only in unconditional surrender that we can wake up to our true nature, which is kind of like a death. But there's so much freedom in being able to accept life as it is. There's no freedom in resisting. That's a prison that you put yourself in.
Yeah, I think I just need to bring more awareness to it still.
Well, you've been educated in the Western system. We're educated to resist. We're educated to suffer, actually. We're not educated to be happy. If we were taught acceptance at school, we'd have a chance of being happy. But because we're not taught acceptance, because we're taught struggle and resistance, we are programmed to suffer until we die.
Is being taught to question things rather than take them for what they are similar to acceptance, or completely different?
It's dangerous.
Dangerous?
Oh yeah, it's really good. Question everything. Believe nobody. Don't believe me. Question everything. Find out for yourself, through your own direct experience, what is true. This is the way of the seeker. Yeah. Hi, TJ.
Hey, Vishrant.
Hello, TJ.
Yesterday, I had a great deal of confidence through my day, especially given that I asked you to take sannyas. And at night, however, for whatever reason, I just felt really bad, and I didn't know why. So I just ended up crying, and I was looking for things to make me feel better. Be videos like watching your videos or music or whatever, but um, nothing really was working. I just felt bad, and I was crying. I know I kind of wanted to though. I realized that my baby was sleeping and she would wake up inevitably, so I didn't want to pass anything on to her. So I jumped in the shower, and that helped. What really got me up was me thinking other people feeling like how I felt, and I really want to help people, and I really have to help myself to help people from what it seems like. So it was enough motivation for me to get up and have a certain type of intensity when it comes to discovering God for myself.
Hang on, yeah, I do. What about healing your wounding? It sounds like you've got wounding coming to the surface, and you're not willing to be with it. You want it to be different than how it is. Well, that pretty much guarantees you'll probably repress whatever's come to the surface again. And that's the problem with human beings, human adults. They're all wounded because they're unwilling to feel what's inside of them. And so they get into all sorts of bad habits, alcohol and drugs, and becoming video addicts, TikTok addicts, food addicts, workaholics, all sorts of different escape methodologies they get involved in to avoid what's inside of themselves. You spoke to me last night, and after you spoke to me, some stuff started coming up. Well, that's to be expected, TJ. But you now have to be okay with that stuff, not trying to run away from it, not trying to avoid it, but to find a way to make it okay, that it's there. I'll go one step further. If you really want to heal the wounds of your heart, you warmly welcome it. You don't try to avoid it. You don't try to get rid of it. You warmly welcome it. And this is how we heal the wounds of our heart.
I did feel like it was a strong correlation between talking to you and things coming up for me. And even though I had no mental idea or thoughts that could tell me why, which was fine, but thank you, because if it is to come up again, I will welcome it again and again.
I've had people come to Satsang and talk to me and cry for a week because they had so much pain inside them, and it was released in Satsang, the energy field, and they just cried for a week. And it was wonderful for them because they were carrying that much energy for so long, repressed inside themselves. And so you just let whatever's there come out. You be okay whatever appears. Okay, TJ?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, TJ. Tinchen, yes. Hello, Tinchen.
In one of your videos, I saw that you talked about devices that teachers are using in order to teach surrender. This information is not often given.
I'm having trouble hearing you, darling. Can you talk closer to your microphone?
I don't know why I have moved. Can you hear me now?
Well, I can hear you much better now, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm from Germany. Maybe it's...
Come on, the Germans are great people. They're very good with technology.
Oh, yeah. So you talked about devices that teachers are using in order to teach surrender.
Some teachers do, some teachers don't.
Yeah, and this information is not often given. First, I want to thank you for that. And I'd like to tell you from my own experience, I did not understand the lessons of surrender.
Ah, well, that's what we have to learn. We can't really learn surrender because surrender itself is an undoing. We can get to a state of unconditional surrender through the practice of acceptance and let go. But there has to be a fair bit of practice because it's not in our nature to actually be surrendered because it's against survival. But in the practice of acceptance and let go, we can get there. And so if life is giving you lots of things that are annoying or disappointing or hurtful, it gives you an opportunity to practice acceptance and let go.
Yes, and I took things personally and projected them onto the teacher, even blamed him.
Yeah.
To have own motivations.
Well, he might have. I don't know the teachers. Some teachers are pretty bent. He may have been. He may have been off. I don't know. You have to use your own judgment on that. Some of my teachers were very clean, and some of them weren't so clean. You know.
I would say for me it was medicine.
You know, I'm having trouble hearing you. Can you get closer to your microphone?
Yeah, I can come closer. I'm not sure. Is it better now?
It's much better now.
Okay, I'm sorry again. For me, it was medicine because I wanted always to avoid situations, and it was very difficult. And sometimes it's still difficult for me to just not to react.
Well, if the teacher is a master, an awakened master, the teacher will be taking you into places where you can learn acceptance and let go, because that's all we need to learn. We don't need to learn anything else. Spiritual knowledge is a waste of time. All we need to learn is unconditional surrender, but it's the hardest thing in the world to learn because it runs against the survival mechanism. And so awake masters set up devices for their disciples to actually get caught on so they can practice surrender. They can practice towards surrender.
And as a matter of fact, I said to him, this is irrational. And can you comment on these devices and maybe talk about your own experiences as a student?
Well, my master was Bhagwan 𝐬𝐤𝐿, and the biggest device he used was sexuality. He was considered the sex guru. And he encouraged his sannyasins to sleep around, you know, try Japanese, try Italian, try German, try Swiss, try Australian, try American, try everything, you know. And of course that caused so much trouble because we are primarily programmed to get disturbed when our partner sleeps with someone else. And so what an amazing device, while not calling it a device, because he didn't, but it was, that caused so much disturbance in so many people for so long. And he was a switched on guy. He knew what he was doing. He wasn't making mistakes. But unfortunately, it was a failed experiment because there were casualties. The children. The children were the casualties, because it caused split-ups in relationships. What works for children is monogamy, not polygamy. And so I saw so much damage done by that particular device. It wasn't funny. But it was a very successful device for me because it allowed me to learn surrender to having my partners sleep with other people. And that's a big one because that's going beyond the primal. It's incredibly difficult to do. But if you can do that, if you can die into that, You can die into anything. And I did. Okay.
Oh, you just wanted to say something, I saw. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Not really. I was going to say hello to Bodhi.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, Bodhi. That's a cool name.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah.
Wonderful. I stumbled on your video with the title, Where Osho Sannyasins Went Wrong. Can I say something about it?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Some from my background. I was a long-time member of the Sannyas movement, and I've experienced a lot in the movement, and I can only say something about my own perspective. And what I have experienced is, first of all, what we call Osho or Bhagwan is not a personality. It is a higher consciousness and has used that body that we call Osho or Bhagwan or whatever. And he brought messages to humankind. And we had the possibility to hear this message and act what is learned about it. And I saw this teacher Osho always as a consciousness, as a higher consciousness. And he has given all devices to anybody who was open to it. And the devices was not to fulfill the fun for the ego, to fulfill wishes, hopes, expectations, sexuality, or whatever. It was always, always against the ego, always. And if we were open, and if we were open to such devices, and we have surrendered to these devices, we could learn a lot for our own life, but only for a single person, not for the community, for a single person. That's how I have experienced this all the time. And I think there we're going a lot of so-called Osho sannyasins wrong. And they thought, oh, now I become a great disciple from a great master, and then I can go around and be proud of it and all this stuff. That is totally the other way around. The way is surrender, surrender, again, surrender. And very often, if we have inside a big no to some advice or order, whatever it was, to say yes and flow with life, go with life, not to complain to life and say,
Can you hold on? No, I won't wait. Can you hold on? No, I will remove you if you don't be quiet. Sorry, you're being removed because you won't be quiet. You prepared to be quiet? Okay. Osho is teaching us how to die. And if you didn't learn how to die, you didn't make it. It's that simple. Unconditional surrender is death. And in that death, if you're willing to give your life to truth, there is a potential of enlightenment. Not a guarantee, but a potential. The failing of most sannyasins of Osho was that they didn't give their life to truth. They kept something for themselves. They wanted something after enlightenment. And that's not how it works. You don't get anything after enlightenment because you don't exist anymore. You don't make it to enlightenment. The I dies. What's left in its place is an absence, not a something, not a somebody, but an absence.
yes, you are absolutely right. That's how I've experienced it. And therefore, I can say from my own experience, there is an energy, and that energy is a higher consciousness. And if we are connected to that higher consciousness, for example, the master creates devices, a lot of devices, but If the master is dead, how can ashes create devices? It's completely, utterly, totally impossible. And so many people run after these teachers, these masters, these gurus, etc. And they think, now I become a better person. It's impossible. That's what I wanted to say, and that's enough for me now.
I agree with you totally. When a master is dead, it's time to find another one. But the one that you find has to be walking their talk. They can't be a false teacher. And so you have to use discrimination to see what you're dealing with. Osho was fully awake. He was a master. But he became rather unavailable because he got too big. What's ideal is to find someone who's awake, who can take you apart slowly but surely until there's nothing left in the way for enlightenment and for heart. And you are very welcome here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, Rajesh. Yes.
Hello. How did you know that you found your teacher?
I didn't. I was just taking a gamble. I got called and I took the gamble. I jumped. I was in a group, encounter group with a sannyasin leader, and in that group I got called. I got called to become a sannyasin. I saw a vision of Osho and he was calling me. And I just jumped. I swapped my 3-piece suit for a red outfit and a mala. I just jumped. And I think those that are willing to jump have a chance. Those who play it safe have no chance. It's just how it is. You have to jump. You have to have courage to play this game of higher consciousness. The gutless simply don't make it. Prem Rajesh, hello.
Hi, Bhagwan.
Hello.
The jumping, can that be practiced with anything, or rather every time I encounter something unknown?
Well, you're breaking up pretty badly, but I have an analogy that works. When I was a little kid, we used to swing on monkey bars. They were kind of like these bars in a row that you could swing and grab another one, then swing to another one in a row. Maybe 12 foot long or something like that. And when I was quite little, I couldn't reach the second bar because I was too little. And so I used to let go of the bar and jump. And in a way, I remember that as teaching me that we have to jump. We can't just hang on. If we hang on, we don't make it. So to truly succeed in life, we need to keep letting go and then see what happens. And my whole life has been a series of let-goes. I don't hang on to anything. Anything else?
Yeah, when did you realize that you cannot hold on to anything if you want to get free?
It was really obvious to me. When you hang on to things, you're imprisoned by them. Whether that's a relationship with someone, or whether it's a piece of property, or a car, or something that you really like. If you hang on to it, you're imprisoned by it. You're imprisoned by the attachment to it. And it was clear, very clear to me, that I didn't want to be imprisoned by anything. I've been into freedom since I've been a little boy. We imprison ourselves when we get attached to things and hold on to them. It's not the thing that's imprisoning us, we're imprisoning ourselves because of our attachment. And so I had a look at that in relationship when I got into my adult years, and I realized you can't take prisoners. You can't own your partner's sexuality. You can't own your partner. If you're into freedom, you've got to allow them to have freedom as well. And so I never ever took anyone prisoner. If people wanted to stay with me, they could stay with me, but I wasn't going to hold them. And as far as objects are concerned, I had never been attached to objects. Easy come, easy go.
I can see how there's a lot of peace in that, because I'm still way too attached to a lot of things.
Yeah, you can be free. You can be free when you're not attached. You can't be free when you're attached because you worry about losing what you've got. And worry is another form of suffering. Whatever will be, will be. The future is not ours to see. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh. Yes.
So Bhagwan, in your presence, the clarity, the witnessing is very strong. I see things in my mind. But before I can do anything with it, it dissolves. It goes. And is this let go?
Your mind is actually being dissolved by the Buddha field, so it's not true let go. True let go is when you're holding on to something and you let it go. Being affected by a Buddha field isn't true let go, but it does show you what's possible. In the Buddha field of Osho, I got a great deal of clarity. It allowed me to see so much. The answer is let go. The answer is acceptance of what is. In that we become wide open, and in that openness we find unconditional love. And this is very beautiful. And in the unconditional love, at some point, if enlightenment starts to occur, you give your life to truth, in love. In that love affair, you as an I die. Okay. Abhaya, hello.
Hello, Vishrant.
Hello.
I
Hello, Abhaya.
Hello, Vishrant.
Go on, Abhaya.
Yeah.
It's good to see you, Abhaya.
Yeah, same here.
Abhayi.
Hi, Bhagwan.
Hello.
Bhagwan, did inner knowing ever get you into trouble?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand you. You broke up. Look.
Did trusting the inner knowing get you into trouble anytime?
I was always in trouble, Abhay. My whole life has been nothing but trouble for everyone. You know, I should have started a firm called Trouble Is Us. I was expelled from 4 kindergartens. I burnt down my scout hall. I was beaten every day I was at school. I was nothing but trouble. And then I grew up. More trouble. The reason I was self-employed was simple. When I was young, I was angry and violent. And anybody that pissed me off, I used to hit him. And so it was best that I was self-employed. That way I didn't have to hit anyone.
How or why did you make this a rule for yourself that you'll never hit a woman?
I was a martial artist. I was trained in martial arts. And to hit a woman would be so cowardly of me because they wouldn't stand a chance. Because they're not trained and they're weaker than men. I grew up in a different era. And I made what I call rules of engagement, where I wouldn't ever hit a woman or a child because I grew up in such a violent environment myself, and I didn't want to repeat that to anyone else. But when it came to men who actually wanted to try to bully me when I was a boy, they got hit. And eventually, because I did about 14 years training, eventually I stopped training because I could see that it wasn't the way to go. It was a bad way to go. It was just something to do with being bullied at school. One of the teachers took me under his wing and started training me in Kung Fu. And I trained for 14 years. Taught me discipline. But women are so lovely. Why would you want to hit one? Jeez. Anything else, Abhay?
Yes, Bhagwan. I want to thank you for all your teachings, and there's a little bit of discipline in my life now. I've been practicing and I can see the benefits.
Yeah, if you practice, it works. If you don't practice, it doesn't work. It's like people, we train to collect knowledge at school and then be able to repeat it somewhere to get a result. But that doesn't work in higher consciousness. The only thing that works in higher consciousness is practice. Nothing else. Anything else, Abhay?
That's all. Thank you very much.
Hello, Prem Willow. Hello. Hello. Your mic is, you're too far away from your mic. I can't hear you.
Ah, okay. So I come a bit closer now.
Yep, that's working. Yep.
Yeah, I just want to I want to tell you how grateful I am, because I looked for teachers so long, and no one was good enough. So I always got quite disappointed. And I feel you are good enough. I'm very grateful.
Yeah, well, you're my disciple, and I've dedicated myself to helping you get free.
Yeah, I can feel that.
There's nothing else worth doing here but raising your consciousness levels and getting free. There's nothing else worth doing here, really. Everything else is a bit of a waste of time. I saw your name on an ad today on Facebook, something to do with Tantra. You're running some
No,
kind of
yeah.
running some kind of tantra group in Sweden.
No, actually, I am helping Peter with. I'm the coordinator of the emotional support team.
Emotional support for a tantra group.
And I really don't want to do it anymore. So I'm kind of trying to find someone that I could give it to, because I don't feel attracted to it anymore.
Okay.
It's a little bit like Peter, I think, like it's been there, done that.
I call him Abby.
Abby, yeah, Abby. I haven't got used to that yet, but he's one of my male friends.
Yeah. Well, if you keep talking to me, because you've taken sannyas, you could come to my private meetings as well. They tend to be a little bit more deadly.
Yeah, I do. I just have problems finding questions. But I will talk to you. We'll find my way to talk to you.
Anything that you talk to me about will be used as ammunition.
Yeah, so okay, then I will ask something. I will ask you.
Because higher consciousness is a stripping down process. It's like a reverse engineering process, because we've all been programmed with things that are actually in the way, belief systems that are in the way. And so raising your consciousness levels is not about becoming bigger, better, more powerful. It's about becoming less than. And so you're taking things away. And as you take things away, you get lighter and lighter.
Yeah, I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid that when you will like kind of push me, but I also long for it. So,
yeah.
But I'm scared of masculine men. So it's double.
Well, if you came to Australia and you stood next to me, you could fall into me, because I operate from yin, not yang. I can go to yang, but I live in yin. I live in the feminine.
I can sense that, and I have also felt like, ooh, wow, how would it be to be really close?
Is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, actually, there's one of these tantric practices that many people is using, and I'm also doing on people's from time to time. I'm working as a rose therapist. It's more very still body therapy. But sometimes I do this de-armoring, like when I feel there's really stuck energy. So I go in and press point, like a pressure almost. Is that a way to help people get free or get emotional release?
I found with that sort of thing, when there's stuff stuck, breathing out works. Having them breathe into the area and then breathing out. And that brings awareness to the area and allows release. Because really, Tantra is all about awareness. Yeah.
That's why I'm not interested anymore, because it's they're not how it's supposed to be. Don't even like most of them. I don't like when they touch me. So it's like, no, don't touch me.
The object of Tantra is to merge with the other, so there is no longer two. And from that merging, then there's the potential of knowing self as the universe is there. But people get involved with Tantra usually because they're interested in sexuality. And they miss the boat because that's the wrong approach for Tantra. It's actually a merging of the energy, so you disappear as an I completely and you can find yourself as everything. So you're using the other as a vehicle towards knowing self as beingness. This is true Tantra. Is there anything else, Willow?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, darling. Yes, come here. Kuma. Hello.
Hello.
Sit here. You still want to take sannyas?
Yes.
Ah, good. Because I've found you a lovely name. Your sannyasin name is Prem 𝐬𝐞𝐥𝐟. 𝐬𝐞𝐥𝐟. Prem meaning love, and 𝐬𝐞𝐥𝐟 meaning chief of the tribe. And the reason this name has been chosen for you is because you tend to be a loner. And really, the way of the heart is to take care of everyone, and the chief of the tribe, even though the tribe might not know that you're the chief, you take care of everyone. If you ever follow me around, you'll find I take care of everyone, always. And so you've been given a name that means that, to take care of everyone, which is the way of the heart. Moving in love, find ways to take care of your tribe. This is the way of the heart and a rich way to live. Openness counts for everything, 𝐬𝐞𝐥𝐟. I give you the certificate. I welcome you, Prem 𝐬𝐞𝐥𝐟.
Thank you.
Our new brother. Yeah, that's really nice, man.
Okay.
𝐬𝐞𝐥𝐟 is a beautiful name.
I like it.
Yeah. It's never too late, brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now you're in my care.
Thank you. I'll take out advantage of that.
You're welcome. Yep, it is time. Thank you for Satsang. Good to see you brave hearts here tonight.